All right, here we go again. So I'm not against socialism. I believe just about any, even a tyrant can be an acceptable form of government if you have a nice tyrant. Like I demand that everybody has ice cream every night. I mean, something like that, or every day. So again, it's not about the form of government. Actually, you could have a king that democratically represents you better than a democracy that doesn't represent you. Sound familiar? So in Russia, it was the birthplace. It wasn't called Russia back then, but it was Russia. It's what Russia is. You know, I could tell you the history of Russia better than Putin. Putin fixates on one moment when Russia had its grandest life, and he wants all that land back. It's just like the Native Americans. Putin's just like the Native Americans. You stole my land. The borders fluctuated quite frequently back then. If we made maps, we'd have to change them every year. Again, it's getting like that, I guess. So the issue with the government is when it becomes kleptocratic. Russia, in its early days, had the Kremlin was actually the birthplace of the democracy. It's just this crazy world. But again, it highlights the world. You know, these are law enforcement. No, they're corrupt pieces of shit. I mean, they exist. Right. It doesn't mean that every law enforcement officer. So the birthplace of democracy was actually Russia. And it's called, I think, Rus. Kievan Rus, maybe even a combination of Ukraine and Russian name. And it was nobles that were responsible for representing their people in a pseudo democratic body. They would go in there and they would pull represent their people and try to get whatever programs for their people were back then. I don't even know if they had any, but so it's not an issue of socialism, because socialism could work to a certain degree. Again, if people refuse, to work or work at the level they would maybe if they were getting some sort of incentive. Now, the question is whether that incentive exists today in our capitalistic society. And we're not completely capitalism. We're a combination of social programs and capitalism. This nation's never been a strict capitalistic country. Also, free enterprise was an element of the United States. The question is whether that free enterprise still exists or not. My volume's up a little bit, I guess. Well, capitalism is not necessarily free enterprise. Capitalism is not necessarily free enterprise. Free enterprise is a type of capitalism. You could have a kleptocratic capitalism. You could probably even have some form of banana republic capitalism. But Venezuela is a banana republic, kleptocratic nation. So again, when you try to fight socialism and fight communism, it's not what we actually fight. We fight the kleptocracy. And again, this is a different type of banana republic. They're exporting narcotics, but it's still a banana republic. So just because you call yourself a socialist and you're going to give people, like, I don't have a problem with taxing really wealthy people. Like, I don't know if they scientifically did it. I would do it. I would sit down and say, how much does this person make? What kind of life to live? Okay, they're not really going to miss 1%, 2%, maybe even 3%. And then I would say, okay, we're going to tax this much income at this rate, this much, like you would do the. Well, the fact is that you're not going to make the money you're making without the people. And most people don't even know that if they're a company person, they're into their company and their business and work, that they're actually powering their business. The boss may not be. The Marshall Service was like that. It's a scam. So again, the idea that you plug into the new, and it's a fact. Why don't Jews leave New York City? Because they plug into it and it works for them. Right. That's the life they want. I mean, a lot of New Yorkers are like the New Yorker lifestyle, and if you look at the money they pay for these freaking like penthouses or not penthouses, but there's a lot of views in New York. That's one of the things they did when they built certain sections. They put the high rises in, and they all have views. And right, you just come out to like the Pittsburgh area here. Everybody's got a view. Next, if you don't like the view, go to the next hill, and you'll have another opportunity to build houses with a view. I'm sorry I never came here for that part. I mean, I probably could have had a house with a nice view. During the downturn, my income still stayed up, and I have a VA loan, which means I don't have to put any money down. And house prices drop real low. So again, in economic failure, our house prices dropped real low, and everybody's complaining that they're real high. Well, I think there's some screwy Louie stuff going on. Like they always say, oh, it's Blackstone. Blackstone may be, playing around with homes, but again, it sounds like a cover story to me. But there's a bunch of mobsters in every community that's like the housing mafia, and they make sure that the prices don't go down below a certain level. Right? I think it's a deep state. Now they're starting to give. Maybe Trump's making them afraid. And again, it could be foreigners just buying up houses. Like those people, when they screwed up, when the deep state screwed up my ability to purchase that home in Cape Coral, Canadians were buying it. Like 2011, 12, 11, I think. So now what just happened? All the Canadians ran. I think they're crooks. I really do. I think that's why they ran. It's a cover story. Oh, it's Trump. It's Trump. Yeah, Trump's going to investigate you and find out you were a criminal in Florida, running some sort of mob. Right. So again, we have that Canadian guy that we're looking for in Mexico. Most likely they're white related to him in some way, or at least the laundering factor of that money. They fled real quick. And that's okay. Get out of here. They're just pieces of shit that plug into the Florida mafia. The conservatives that run all the porn industry and the trans industry. But they got houses in Naples, the conservative bastion. Right. Who do you think lives in Naples? All the trans surgeons. Right. And of course, crooked cops. It's a good way to get a house or a condo in Naples, at least, is to be a crooked cop. Right. That's the big cover story. That we're not who we are. You're actually who we are, and we're actually who you are. Right. So again, the big experiment is how corrupt can socialism be? That's the problem. When I spoke to the young people, and again, Mandami isn't as young as they are. The people I spoke to about socialism that were socialists were so it's about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, and they were in their 20s. So they're a little bit younger than he is, probably by about 4 to 7 years. Right. Well, they spoke about pure socialism, which means there's this almost holy ethic in it, where the socialism is more important than self-enrichment. If you're going to tell me Mandami and or not Mandami, what's that guy's name? Maduro and all his people, they're kleptocrats. Now, I have no problem with a kleptocratic society if they provide for the people. But, Elon's industry is a kleptocrat. The money we put into him and what we actually get back. So he's a capitalistic kleptocrat. I mean, Elon has something socially responsible he needs to do with his newfound riches. Right. If I'm speaking that. Right. Again, Elon really does owe the socialists. They paid him a lot of money. But again, they're not really socialists. That's why he liked them. They're not really socialists. They just give you money and don't expect anything because they're not giving you anything. They're not doing anything for their money, right? So that's the big problem. If you pull all this money out and people start siphoning off all that 2% in New York or whatever you're going to raise the taxes, then you're a phony crony. You're a kleptocratic social. Trump's actually giving back. His plan will actually give back if it works. I mean, I think it's going to work, regardless of how the Democrats are trying to scumbag it. And if they're afraid of Cash Patel, they may not price gouge as much. They may not do this. They may do it. So like I said, right off the bat, the Canadians left, and I said, that's it. Right. I agree. They're committing crimes. They say, oh, we had it. We're getting out of because of Donald Trump. Getting out of here because they're in Florida committing crimes. Running some sort of drug thing or fraud or whatever it was. Right. I agree. The Cape Coral Mafia. I found it perfect. Every house I purchased, I would have doubled my money. So this is why I don't have money. Not he's an idiot. He's an idiot. No, they're using mafia type operations from law enforcement and everything else who are taking phony crony money and drug money, and they're destroying my ability to double my money in like a year because God and the system tried to pay me all the way along. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Again, they spoke about pure socialism, which means there's an ethic in there. That you don't rape the money that you tax and you use it responsibly. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.